You've seen this movie before. You just didn't realize you were already in it. Fluorescent lights buzzing. A cartwheel squeaking like it has a warning built in. Someone's kid coughing into their sleeve. And over by aisle 6, an employee tapes up a fresh sign that says, Limit 2. Like it is no big deal. Like it is just another Tuesday. But here's the part nobody understands until it is too late. The first empty shelf is not the beginning. It is the confirmation. The real start is one delivery before that, when the system is still pretending it is normal, but the math is already broken. In the first 60 minutes, shelves look full enough to calm people down. That is the trap. The herd sees plenty. You see throughput. You see choke points. You see how fast normal demand turns into extraction, and how fast extraction turns into conflict. Because while they are wandering the aisles like it is a weekend errand, you are reading the room like a logistics officer. You are watching hands, not labels. You are tracking what disappears first, what gets touched but left behind, what is being quietly rationed before anyone says the word ration. And you can feel it, this subtle shift. Voices get sharper, carts get heavier, eye contact gets rarer. Not because people are evil, but because uncertainty makes everyone selfish on a timer. This is the window where you win without fighting. Not by buying more, but by buying smarter. By thinking in layers, calories, water, stability, and time. So, no, I am not here to tell you to panic buy. I am here to give you a protocol. Calm, tactical, and repeatable. So you are not improvising when everyone else is. And in a moment, I'm going to show you the brutal truth behind normal shelves and why the countdown starts long before they go empty. That Limit 2 sign is not about fairness. It is a confession that the store already knows what is coming. Now let us do the part most people avoid, because it is not dramatic, it is unforgiving. The shelf-to-stomach countdown. Your household does not run on vibes. It runs on intake. Every day, your body burns fuel, whether the news is calm or chaotic. And the moment you accept that, you stop thinking like a shopper and start thinking like a planner. Here is the brutal math without fake stats. Take the people under your roof, multiply by days, and you are not just counting meals, you are counting stability. Because food is not one thing. It is calories. It is protein. It is fats. It is the ability to cook it. It is water to make it usable. It is containers to keep it from turning into trash. And that is why I will grab stuff after work is a fantasy. Not because you are slow, because the system is thin. Trucks do not teleport. They run routes. They hit schedules. They rely on drivers, fuel, loading docks, and a supply chain of people who also have families and fear. Stores do not have infinite back rooms. They have just enough to bridge the next restock, when restock exists. Now add one viral photo, one post of a half-empty aisle, one rumor that sounds specific enough to be true, and normal demand does not increase, it spikes. People do not buy what they need, they buy what they are scared of losing. While they shop by emotion, you stock by math. Because the real bottleneck is not the shelf. It is the refill rate. It is the labor to unload. It is the time between deliveries. It is the fact that once the herd starts extracting faster than the system can replenish, the shelf becomes a scoreboard. So here is your timer. Not days, not weeks, moments. The moment the first panic wave hits, your options collapse in layers. And next, I am going to show you why smart people still make dumb supply decisions under pressure, and how to stay the calm analyst when everyone else becomes the herd. That timer does not just change the shelves, it changes people. And this is where it gets dangerous. Because the first thing that collapses is not inventory, it is decision-making. You can put a smart, capable adult in a bright grocery store and watch them turn into a raccoon with a credit card the second scarcity shows up. Tunnel vision hits first. They stop seeing options and start seeing one thing. Get something. Anything. Social proof hits next. If 3 carts have bottled water, your brain starts screaming that bottled water is the only thing that matters. Then comes last one left scarcity, when you do not even want the item, you just cannot stand the idea of someone else taking it. So they load up cases of water they cannot store, snack food that will not stabilize them, and random ingredients with no plan to cook. They burn money, time, and energy in the loudest way possible. They are not prepping, they are performing survival. You do not do that. Because you are not trying to win a shopping sprint, you are trying to build a supply system. Redundancy, depth, flexibility, the ability to absorb disruption without broadcasting desperation. This is the mental reset. Panic is a strategy. It is just not your strategy. You think in second-order effects. If everyone buys bread, what disappears next? If fuel gets tight, what happens to deliveries? If power flickers, what food becomes useless overnight? The calm analyst does not just ask, "What do I want?" You ask, "What fails first, and what keeps working anyway?" That is how you stay steady when the herd gets loud. And in the next part, I am going to hand you the protocol, simple enough to remember under stress, strong enough to keep you supplied before the first empty shelf turns into a full-blown scramble. So now you have the math, and you have the mindset. But mindset without a method is just confidence waiting to get humbled. This is Rule 0. You do not wing it when the system starts stuttering. You run a protocol. I call it HEFP, the Hidden Emergency Food Protocol. 5 steps, easy to remember when your phone is buzzing and the store looks like a storm warning. Step 1. Hold. You freeze the panic. Not the action, the panic. You stop impulse spending, stop doom scrolling, stop grabbing random junk because someone else grabbed it. Hold is you taking your hands off the emotional steering wheel long enough to make a real decision. Step 2. Evaluate. You inventory what you already have and what it actually does. Not, "I have food." I mean, how many meals, how many days, and what breaks the moment power or water becomes unreliable. You find the gaps. Protein, fats, water, cooking method, storage, and the boring stuff that keeps food edible. Step 3. Fortify. This is your 72-hour layer. The first 3 days are when the herd is loudest and the supply chain is most fragile. You build fast meals, no drama calories, and hydration you can manage safely. This is not gourmet, it is stability. It is the difference between thinking clearly and spiraling. Step 4. Pivot. This is the 30-day layer. You stop buying food and start buying a system. Shelf-stable staples, rotation, and versatility. Items that can be eaten multiple ways, cooked multiple ways, stored without babysitting. Your goal is not to look prepared. Your goal is to stay supplied. Step 5. Protect. OPSEC and rotation. You do not advertise. You do not become the neighborhood Costco. You keep your supplies quiet, organized, and cycling, so nothing expires into a pile of expensive regret. Protection is also about protecting your future self from your current laziness. And here is the open loop most people miss. The best food plan is not just in your pantry. It is in the city's backbone. Infrastructure, supply corridors, quiet systems hiding in plain sight that still function when retail turns into a feeding frenzy. Next, I am going to show you the first fortress, where the herd sees closed doors, but the analyst sees a calm, legal, high-density supply lane most people never even think to map. This is where the calm analyst separates from the herd, because you stop thinking grocery store and you start thinking food pipeline. Most panic people look at restaurants, cafes, and commercial kitchens and assume it is all dead space, closed signs, dark windows, useless bulk junk they cannot use. They picture a freezer full of fancy ingredients and a supply chain that only works for chefs. That is not what is actually there. What the analyst sees is a quiet warehouse network hiding in plain sight. Restaurant suppliers, food service distributors, cash and carry wholesalers, and the commercial-grade products that feed entire neighborhoods without ever sitting on a retail shelf for more than a day. And the inventory is not fragile. It is dense, boring in the best way. Dry goods in thick bags that do not rip if you look at them wrong. Rice, beans, pasta, flour, sugar, salt. Oils with serious calorie weight. Shelf-stable sauces. Canned goods in cases. Sealed ingredients meant to survive storage and transport. Packaging designed to resist pests, moisture, and rough handling, because that is the job. Retail packaging is designed to sell. Food service packaging is designed to move. Here is the advantage people miss. Logistics efficiency. Restaurants do not buy one can, they buy the case. They do not buy tiny snack packs, they buy staples that turn into hundreds of servings. That means one legitimate purchase can stabilize your household's baseline faster than 10 chaotic retail runs ever will. Second advantage, redundancy. Retail is a single choke point. Everyone funnels into the same stores at the same time, fighting over the same shelves on the same delivery schedule. The food service ecosystem is multiple lanes, different vendors, different routes, different delivery days, different stock priorities. When one lane clogs, another may still flow, especially if you already know where it is. And let me be crystal clear. We are talking legal, ethical, normal access. No trespass fantasies, no backdoor nonsense. This is about mapping public-facing wholesalers, learning which suppliers allow walk-ins, and building relationships now, because relationships are a form of resilience. If you have ever worked trades, you already understand this. The person who knows the parts counter does not panic when everyone else is stuck. While they fight over retail shelves, you leverage the supply chain behind the shelves. And once you understand that food is a pipeline, the next fortress makes even more sense. Because calories are only half the equation. Next, we talk about the water spine. The urban system people ignore until they are suddenly thirsty on a timer. Food buys you time. Water decides how much of that time you can actually use. And this is where most people get exposed, because they treat water like background noise, something that just shows up when you turn a handle. Panicked people look at the city and see just pipes. Or worse, they assume water is infinite, right up until it is not. And then they sprint for bottled cases like they are grabbing oxygen. Pop quiz. If your tap stopped right now, how many days of safe hydration do you actually have, without guessing? That is the difference between the herd and the analyst. The herd hoards bottles. The analyst secures systems. Because the city does not run on one magic faucet. It runs on layers: treatment, storage, pressure zones, distribution, and a web of legitimate access points that create predictable hydration opportunities when you manage them responsibly. You do not need to know every technical detail to benefit from the structure. You just need to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like someone who respects infrastructure. Here are the 2 advantages you are after. First, redundancy. You do not bet your hydration plan on a single source. You build multiple lanes: stored water at home, clean containers, filtration you understand, and a realistic refill rhythm while the system is still stable. Not because you are paranoid, but because you have seen how fast one failure turns into 3. A boil notice, a power outage, a pressure drop, a burst main. Suddenly, the infinite tap becomes a question mark. Second, stealth. Water panic is loud. It is people hauling cases in daylight, stacking them like trophies, advertising vulnerability and waste at the same time. Quiet resupply beats loud panic runs. The calm analyst tops off early, rotates cleanly, and keeps it low visibility. No drama, no attention, no last-minute chaos. And again, ethical and legal only. No tampering, no shortcuts, no hacks that put you or anyone else at risk. This is about responsible preparedness, understanding safe storage, testing when you are unsure, and having the tools and habits to keep water usable, not just present. Because here is the dark little truth. Dehydration does not care how much food you stacked. Without safe water, your calories turn into dead weight. Now, once you have a food pipeline and a water spine, the next fortress is what keeps both of those from collapsing inside your own home. The repair citadel. The place the herd ignores, until something breaks and they realize they cannot fix it. Once you understand food is a pipeline and water is a system, you realize the next failure point is not out there. It is inside your own walls. This is the fortress most people walk past like it is irrelevant. The hardware store, the supply aisle, the maintenance corridor. Panicked people look at it and think, tools, not survival. They will drive past shelves of repair parts to fight over another box of snack food, because they cannot imagine a leaky pipe being more dangerous than an empty pantry. That is why they lose. Because the analyst knows hardware is not comfort, it is capability. It is a supply multiplier. It is the boring stuff that turns a fragile stockpile into a stable system. Sealants that stop a drip before it becomes a flood. Fasteners that keep shelves from collapsing under weight. Manual tools that do not care if the power is out. Fuel-safe containers that do not off-gas into your storage space. Heavy-duty bags, bins, and tape that protect food from moisture and pests. Lighting that keeps you functional without turning your place into a glowing beacon. And heat control, because the moment your cooking method fails, half your food becomes an expensive paperweight. Here are your 2 advantages. First, repair capability. A person who can fix a leak, tighten a fitting, patch a gap, or stabilize a storage setup is more valuable than the person with 200 cans and no way to keep them safe. Repairs prevent losses. Losses are silent. A cracked lid, a wet bag of rice, a rodent breach, a freezer door that does not seal. These are the tiny failures that bleed you out over weeks. The calm analyst stops the bleed. Second, perimeter control. Not tactical cosplay, real control. Light discipline, noise discipline. The ability to secure a door, reinforce a weak point, reduce visibility, and keep your space functional without broadcasting it. Most people think defense means something dramatic. In reality, defense is often just making your home less fragile, less loud, and less inviting to problems. And this is not about hoarding gear. It is about mapping legitimate supply lines and building skills. If you have ever worked trades, you already know. The right part at the right time beats heroics. While they stock food, you stock the ability to keep food. Now we are going to stitch these fortresses together into one operational system, because isolated piles do not win. Synergy does. Now that you have mapped your quiet warehouse, traced the water spine, and fortified your repair citadel, it is time to stop thinking in silos. Individual fortresses are useful, but isolated, they fail faster than the herd chasing panic. This is where the 3-lane supply system comes in. Lane 1, food density. The staples, rotation-friendly calories, and storage methods that survive without constant babysitting. Lane 2, water safety. Enough stored, filtered, and monitored so hydration never becomes a daily scramble. Lane 3, minimal power and heat. The tools, lighting, and energy management that keep food viable, water safe, and your home functional when the grid hiccups. Each lane is a safety net for the others. Miss a rotation on one lane, the others absorb the shock. Lose a delivery? Your redundancy keeps you invisible, calm, and operational. This is not about perfection. It is about survivable stability. Rotation is your rhythm. Reorder triggers are your signal. Quiet, consistent actions prevent attention and panic alike. You are not hauling every Friday or stockpiling every weekend. You are moving like a logistics officer who knows the city will shift before anyone else realizes. Think of it like assembling a tactical loadout. Modular, visible to you only, realistic for apartments or urban dwellings. No heroics, no high-risk moves. Redundancy beats heroics. Logistics beats luck. And with your 3 lanes aligned, you are ready to face reality. Because even the best system has limits, and knowing them keeps you ahead of chaos rather than under it. Up next, the reality checks that most preppers ignore, until it is too late. Even the most elegant supply system meets friction the moment it leaves paper and hits reality. Shelves, taps, and circuits do not care about your spreadsheet. Your plan is not real until it survives boredom, fear, and cold. Power outages can turn a stacked pantry into a storage nightmare. Boiling water is not instant. It consumes fuel, attention, and time. Water contamination is not hypothetical. Heating in winter can become a hidden calorie drain. Access restrictions, from building rules to delivery cutoffs, can derail even the calmest schedule. Noise and visibility invite questions you do not want. Storage space is finite, and the human factor, roommates, family resistance, curious neighbors, introduces unpredictability that cannot be ignored. The fix is not panic, it is adaptation. Smaller footprints with modular rotation keep supplies manageable. Skills-first upgrades, knowing how to filter, seal, or repair, multiply every resource. Community coordination, done legally and quietly, provides redundancy without exposure. Every system should be stress-tested for these boring failures before crisis hits, not during it. Admitting constraints does not weaken you, it sharpens strategy. Understanding what breaks allows you to plan around it, keeping the calm analyst advantage while the herd scrambles. Next, we will confront the dark truth, what no checklist can fully solve, and why preparation is only as strong as the choices you make in that first critical window. Here is the brutal reality. The first empty shelf is not the crisis. It is the warning siren that your options are collapsing faster than your appetite. Every moment you wait without a plan, the herd grows louder, shelves get scarcer, and your choices narrow. The window for calm, controlled action is smaller than you think, sometimes just 15 minutes before panic sets the rhythm for everyone else. So here is what you do. First, map your 72-hour calorie baseline. Second, identify 2 legitimate resupply nodes for each fortress: your quiet warehouse, water spine, and repair citadel. Third, set a rotation schedule for food, water, and essential supplies, so nothing expires or becomes a liability. Then, run a 15-minute recon walk around your neighborhood. Observe redundancies, legal access points, and routes that keep you low visibility but effective. This is where the binary choice hits. Scroll and hope while the herd dictates timing, or map and prepare, using information and discipline before chaos dictates your actions. While they wait for permission, you build a plan. Comment your city type: dense urban, suburban, or something in between, and subscribe to see the next layer of the hidden emergency food protocol in action.